Winner of the 2025 Kyoto Award for Best Novel, Utunu's second large project and first foray into the realm of science fiction, it tells the story of a brand new universe of his own creation. Far Flung is a tale of friendship and the challenges they face on the desert world of Sans. A unique sci-fi setting, the twin worlds of Sans and Verdant share a somewhat symbiotic relationship, with one providing resources and the other the apparent source of psionic individuals. Highly sought for their talents, shuttles routinely travel between the worlds when they are close together, trading one for the other. The main characters are a pair of fennecs named Tuther and Bori, and their hyena friend Samna. The only two species seen in this particular novel, they are members of a colony on the harsh desert planet of Sans. Bori is the protagonist, a psionic, which among other things, gifts him with the ability to read and transmit thoughts, teleport, and a few other talents. Skilled at his developing techniques, he fears the arrival of the shuttle, which often conscripts the most skilled psionics for services on the neighboring planet. Tuther, his best friend, is also gifted, although unlike Bori, has managed to fly under the radar. Unbeknownst to him, his talents lie in support of psionics, and without knowing it, has become Bori's support. Making a great pair, Tuther is fun to follow around and makes a great complement to Bori. Samna is what I would describe as their big brother, hanging out with the fennecs and doing his best to keep them out of trouble. As the only non-psionic of the group, he is often left out of the internal conversation, and serves as a good audience surrogate for those of us who can only imagine what such a skill would be like. Loyal, resourceful, and patient, he enjoys spending his time with the other two. Taken directly from the book jacket, the premise of the story is as follows. On the harsh, barren planet of Sans, in the small settlement of Oasis, the three young companions, the inseparable fennecs Bori and Tuther, and their best friend, the hyena Samna. Bori is psionic, and on the distant planet of Verdant, psionics are fervently sought. When the two planets are in conjunction, a shuttle journeys between them, bringing needed resources to Sans and hoping to take gifted psionics back to lush Verdant in return. The shuttle's imminent arrival signifies opportunities for Oasis, but for the trio it instead evokes dread, for if Bori is chosen, he would be taken from his dearest friends, and the only home he's ever known. Bori would be broken without Tuther. Tuther would be broken without Bori. And Samna, all he can do is help make their remaining days together a little brighter. I'd read Utunu's previous work and been genuinely impressed by it, which I consider to be no easy feat. While I'm not, by my consideration, a harsh critic, I do have high standards for top ratings, and if you do well the first time, I'm more likely to read your next book. So with a reasonable amount of confidence in it, I ordered a signed copy of Far Flung, and at last its turn arrived in the rotation. I admit I'd put it off a little because I was still trying to come to terms with some feedback I'd received on my own project from Utunu, and was still trying to figure out how best to absorb it. To digress a little, I was a little emotionally overwhelmed by some of the comments, and while overall I do feel that a lot of the changes made were beneficial as a result of the commentary, it took longer than it should have to balance it all and re-establish my confidence in my work. Now, what does this have to do with Far Flung, you may ask? Well, I pride myself on giving everything a fair shake, and I was, at least for a while, afraid that some of the psychic damage I had taken from the growth process would color my impressions. So I waited until at last I felt I was ready to tackle it with an even mind. Utunu's first foray into sci-fi, at least on a larger scale, it was a well-thought-out story with a unique setting. There's a reason for everything, and it all makes sense. He does a fantastic job establishing a world that has its own flavor, and could never be mistaken for Tatooine or Arrakis. Sans is its own entity, and through the early chapters we get a picture of life on this harsh desert world. The main characters work well together, with an organic chemistry to their interactions. I think that they formed a great polycule, with no one feeling like a third wheel, which is a tricky skill to master. Generally, I find relationships of more than two characters to be complicated on more than one level, but this trio forms a bond of friendship and more that feels free of any of the usual jealousies or complications one typically finds when there are more than two people involved. Their group is very much us against the world, where they know they can trust each other, but everyone outside the group is a potential risk to their happiness. Now, I don't mean to make that sound paranoid, but to point out that the trio really only has themselves to depend on, and that being said, it makes their bond stronger as a result. All three add unique aspects to the group dynamics, both in terms of their personalities, abilities, and function in the story. They all fit together well, with each character balancing perfectly against the other two. While I do feel that with a three-way relationship it somewhat dilutes the investment one might get from a traditional pairing, the story still did a fantastic job of getting me emotionally involved in each of the characters and caring about what happens to them. If I had to pick a favorite, I think it would probably be Bori. The centerpiece of the group, he has, I think, the brightest personality of the trio. Although I will say that Tuller is perhaps the most interesting, if for no other reason than a large part of his backstory is left a mystery, at least for the duration of Far Flung itself. The abilities are well thought out, with each one possessing a particular set of limitations and dutifully maintained. It is both unique and relevant, both establishing the identity of the series along with serving the needs of the plot. There are no superpowers here. Everything serves a purpose. I think Utunu does a great job at portraying the feeling of having a happy life and wanting to protect the people you care about from potentially harmful change. Particularly relevant in this day and age, it both reminds us to keep those we love close, but also to take care of the people around us and appreciate them while they are here. It also very much emphasizes the idea that it's not where you are, but who you're with that matters. Perhaps it's just me being sappy, but a good story should make you think about the world around you, and that's what this one does. It was a solid effort, beautifully told. Do I think it was better than Raph's? Overall, I think Raph's had more of an emotional impact on me, but Far Flung was a better story. Even more so when I consider that this was his first science fiction effort. As I understand it, a sequel is already in the works, and if this one was any indication, I'll be on board for the sequel, even if there aren't any zebras. If you like werewolves, check out my book Blue Moon, available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. Meow.